Hello, welcome to my channel, A Book Forest. My name is Kim, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Fionavar Tapestry by Gavriel. So I read this book it's a trilogy, so I read it over October to December of last year, and it ended up being my favorite book of the year 2024. So there's a few reasons for that. First of all, the Fionavar Tapestry is, I would call it, classic fantasy, epic fantasy. It's also portal fantasy. Classic fantasy is my favorite kind. For so far, I haven't tried all of the genres, but I really enjoy classic epic fantasy. So that's one reason I enjoyed it. But it also is terribly well written. Gavriel, that's his first novel, and he was around 30 years old when he wrote this, and I was very impressed by the writing style. He accomplishes it's not that big for 3 books. He accomplishes a lot in those 3 books. It would have taken another author maybe in 6 books to write what he wrote in this. It's the story. We start in Toronto in Canada at the university with 5 students there. There's 4 of them that are friends, and one who is sort of an acquaintance, but he's not really friends with any of them. And the girls in the group just tell him, like, come along with us since you're alone. So he tags along. And right away there's a mage called Lauren from another world, the Fionavar. He comes in with his, he's a mage and he has a source for his power. So the source of his power doesn't come from him. And his source is a dwarf called Matt, who is also we learn pretty quickly, the king of the dwarves in Fionavar. So Lauren, right away, he spots one of the 5 in the group, Kim. She has a nice name. So he spots her and he says, she's the one that we need. We don't yet know why. And they actually need 5 people, so they just spot her and they say, like, the other 4 will do, we'll just bring all of them along. And they just accost our 5 students and tell them, oh, we're from another world, and we need you to come with us for a party for 2 weeks, and then we'll bring you back. And it's quite funny because they kind of take it in their stride, and they're all, oh, okay, sure, we'll go. That was hilarious because they take it very, like, they believe right away, like any good fantasy reader would. Like, we're all like, oh yeah, for sure, like, I want to go, like, our new world, of course I knew it existed. So the 5 students, there's 3 guys and 2 girls. So you have Kevin, who is very jolly, charismatic, handsome, bit of a player. He always makes jokes. You have Paul, his best friend, who is completely dour and very serious and almost in despair. And you have Dave, who is he tags along, but there's like a competition between him and Kevin. Like, Dave is very sour on life. He has had a rough childhood and he's not very easy with people. Like, he doesn't make friends easily. And the 2 girls are Jennifer, who is a beautiful woman, quite standoffish. Like, you don't really see her personality at first. And Kim, who is the main person of that group at the moment, who is a bit more of a mystery, but she seems to be a bit more friendly and a bit mystical. So that's where it starts. They're very quickly they go to Fionavar and then they meet the people there. What I enjoyed about this story is that when they meet the people in Fionavar, everyone seems at first to be a bit of a stereotype. Even our main protagonists, they're like, oh yeah, there's like the clown and the princess and but very, like, over the course of the first and second, like, of the whole story, the layers like you keep peeling back the layers of all these characters, the ones in Fionavar and the five students, and it reveals loads and loads of information about these characters that you never would have suspected, and it's so much depth and emotion, like all the conversations and the relationships. Yes, it was wonderful. There's a lot of really good friendships. Like if you're a friendship person, like if you like good friendships in your books, I would recommend this for sure. There's lots of relationships between friends that are just wonderful to witness. They're also heartbreaking sometimes. But yeah, you have like the friend who is grieving for something, and the other one is just wants to help, but the other one doesn't let him in. It's so realistic in the fantasy setting. The writing style is just wonderful. I'll just read an extract to give an idea. So it says, "Tell me something, seer," he said, sounding older than his years. "If an exiled man's people are all dead, does his exile end, or does it go on forever? We cannot unsay the falling of that rain, or lengthen the cut threads of those who have died," he said gently. "It is in my heart, though, that in the face of what Mogrim has done, no man is an exile anymore. Every living creature on this side of the mountains has received a gift of life this morning. We must use that gift until the hour comes that knows our name, to deal such blows as we can against the dark." So Mogrim is the big baddie in the story. Unbeknownst to the students, they're not invited for just a party. They're invited to help save the world, because the Fionavar world is the initial world, and every other world is linked to this, and anything that happens in Fionavar impacts any other world, including our own. Rakoth Mogrim is like a god, and he's very dark, and he wants to destroy everything. So, classic fantasy. I read this right after I read the Silmarillion by Tolkien, and Gavriel helped Christopher Tolkien to write the Silmarillion, to gather the information, and I definitely saw an inspiration from that. Like there's absolute, for sure, banger, like things that are from the Silmarillion were inspired by it. But there's also a lot about Arthurian legend, like very definitely heavily inspired by that, and also the sagas of the Scandinavia and probably the British Isles, Ireland, and yeah, it was really a bit of a. He was getting inspired by all of these things. Probably similar inspirations to the Robert Jordan for the Wheel of Time, because there's loads of things from the Wheel of Time that I think either were directly inspired by this, or they had the same sources of inspiration, because it's very similar. Like just the tapestry motif, it's weaving, and yeah, it sounds a bit like Wheel of Time, also the Arthurian angle. So yeah, I enjoyed this very much. The friendships are wonderful. One thing that I did not enjoy as much are the love stories. Not that they're bad, but they're not super great either. Like, they're a bit clumsy in my opinion. Some of the love scenes, or sex scenes, are kind of cliche in my opinion. Like, for example, there's one guy, they're at a feast, and one night he gets like 3 girls in his tent at the same time. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. But it's such a small portion of the story, it didn't bother me that much. But there are other like weird things happening in that area. Like in the first book, at the end of the first book, there's a very, very difficult scene with Mogrim, Rakoth Mogrim, the bad guy. I think Kay wanted you to really think that, like, oh no, he is a bad guy. I'm gonna show you exactly why, and I'm gonna lay it on really thick. So he does something to one of our protagonists that is very, very disturbing. So it was a bit of a shock at the end of the first book. I did not expect that scene. I think it was a bit jarring. But other than that, that was not, like obviously it's meant to be a bad thing that happens. It's just very, very difficult to read. So for me, the writing style, it's not like, it was written in the 80s, so it doesn't reinvent the wheel. It just uses everything that the inspirations that he gets, he uses them so very well. He makes you care for the characters. Like, I cared for our main characters right away, most of them. That's very difficult to do. Like, in a few pages, you already know their personality. You already know what they're about mostly. And the more you read about them, the more you like them or dislike them some. But yeah, there's some characters that at first I could not stand. In Fionavar, for example, there's a prince. He's called Dermot, and he's really awful at the beginning. I was like, no, I don't like him. But then, the more you read about him, the more you see his personality and his quirks and what makes him tick, and you see like, oh, maybe, okay. And then by the end, I just love them. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of good in here. And it was just magical. Like, the writing style, like sometimes when he was talking more about the myths and legends or of the world, or like the prophecies or anything like that, the writing style was very mystical and otherworldly. And at other times, when he was more in the day-to-day, it was very much more present in the moment, immediate, gritty, very interesting. And he made me care about people. Like, there's some people that we meet for just a couple of pages, like one chapter, and you care for them right away. Like the giants in these books, you don't see much of them, but when you read about them, you just care so much, because he makes it so deep and emotional and important. So yeah, that was really well done. And there's like, for the classic types of characters, like there's humans, there's giants, there's kind of elves that are called the Leos Alfar, and there's kind of goblins that are called the Svart Alfars. And yeah, there's like different kingdoms of men. There's the people who live on the plain and ride horses, very, very similar to Rohan in my opinion, but it was different enough that, like, they live in tents, so it was a bit more like maybe Native Americans, or yeah, like it's a bit a mishmash of everything. So it was lovely. And all the characters that you meet, you kind of really fall in love with. So yeah, I would definitely recommend reading this if you like epic fantasy, classic fantasy, or Arthurian legends, or like Beowulf, things like that. So yeah, there's something in it for you. So overall, I gave this Fionavar Tapestry 5 stars, and I'm going to link down below. I'm doing the Gavriel K project this year. I'm going to read everything he's ever written because I love this so much. So thank you, and see you next time.